The Chinese owner of British Steel has this morning rejected a state rescue package which was proposed to safeguard thousands of jobs at a plant in Scunthorpe. The Business Secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, said the government's £500 million offer on Monday was rejected by the Jingye group since it falls well short, say the company, of what they are looking for. The question is what that means for the future of the plant. In the last hour, Sarah Jones, the industry minister, gave this statement to the House.
In the immediate term, we must support the people who work at British Steel. Our contingency plans have kicked in to ensure all possible support is made available to British Steel's workforce. Both the DWP and the DFE will have teams on the ground shortly to engage with employees for as long as necessary. Indeed, we have asked British Steel that officials are given direct access to British Steel sites to bring their support as close as possible to affected workers.
Right, so we've got a statement then from the government. Let's get some reaction from Scunthorpe. Our reporter there is Phil McCann. He has been speaking to Charlotte Brumpton-Charles from the GB Union, who is in talks with British Steel's management.
Well, this site behind me is home to the last two remaining blast furnaces in the UK, mass producing steel. And what's not clear is whether today's announcement is the beginning of the end for this site or whether it is deal-making brinkmanship. The BBC understands that the operators of this place, Jingye, were expecting a £1 billion injection of government money to keep the business going and to be able to afford to build two new electric arc furnaces. The government, though, we understand, has offered half of that, and the response from British Steel has been to launch a consultation on jobs. Well, Charlotte Brumpton-Charles is from the GMB trade union. Just tell me, first of all, what you make of this announcement today.
It's obviously extremely worrying news. The multi-union plan that we've prepared with Syndex offers an alternative solution than the three that's been put forward by the company today. We should be protecting and maintaining steel making here in Scunthorpe. As you say, these are our last two blast furnaces in the country. There is a question over national security as well as the devastation that would impact on the community here in Scunthorpe.
And whose court do you think the ball is in now? Is it British Steel or is it the government to actually offer more?
I think that there needs to be movement on both sides here. We're now calling for meetings with DBT and Treasury to go through the multi-union plan in depth and offer the alternative solution needed to protect steel making and jobs here in Scunthorpe.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. So we heard there, of course, that today's decision, if it goes through, would mean the end, effectively, of mass-produced steelmaking in the UK. British Steel, for its part, has said that it believes this announcement today is a necessary decision, given the hugely challenging circumstances that the business faces.
So that's the view from Scunthorpe. With me in the studio is our employment correspondent, Zoe Conway. What do you think's going on here?
Well, British Steel are talking about three options. The blast furnaces and steel-making operations close by June, or they delay that to September, presumably with a bit of help to keep it open. Or, tantalisingly, they're talking about it staying open beyond that. And they're also saying that they want to talk about options with the government. So the word brinkmanship is being used, I think, with some justification. What's really going on here? Now, what we do know is that the company has put forward a £2 billion plan for its future, a business plan. This is partly about helping it to decarbonise. And the BBC understands that there was an expectation that the government would meet half of that, so £1 billion. Now, what we also know is that what has been put on the table by the government is £500 million, and that's been rejected. So what is going on here? Is there now a giant haggle that's going to go on between ministers and the company? This is a company that is losing money, by its own admission, every day. What the minister said in Parliament a short time ago was that they had put conditions on the company, conditions had to be met. And she said they hadn't been met. Now, we don't know all the detail about that, but I can say that what I'm being told is that this £1 billion figure was being discussed by the business and by the unions this morning.
Right. Just looking at her statement, which has just popped up in front of me, she's saying it has to safeguard as many jobs as possible and ensure the company's long-term commercial viability. They must provide the commitments we need and which taxpayers would quite rightly expect. So is there a question mark over the viability of this switch to electric arc furnaces, the green alternative?
Well, yesterday the Chief Commercial Officer for British Steel gave evidence to the Business and Trade Select Committee, and he was talking about this switch to decarbonisation, and he was putting this £2 billion price tag on it, so it's incredibly expensive. Now, we know the government's got a £2.5 billion steel fund. What I thought was really interesting in the Commons was that we had the Deputy Leader of Reform, Richard Tice, calling on the government to nationalise the Scunthorpe plant. The Minister didn't rule it out. And I think the bigger context here, which I think is really interesting, is the issue about defence. Do we need these steel plants for strategic reasons for our defence? At the moment, this plant is not providing lots of steel for the defence industry. It's more likely to provide steel for our rail lines. But I think that's the context, and that's certainly what MPs are talking about in Westminster at the moment, is just the strategic importance of this.
When you mentioned the £2 billion figure, it suddenly occurred to me, having been down at Westminster yesterday for the spring statement, that there was one of the growth elements of the package yesterday was that they're going to inject the same figure, £2 billion, into capital investment in the country. Is there a feeling within the steel community that they are a major part of the growth agenda and should be getting some of that money?
Well, certainly the unions would make that point, that this is incredibly important for the economy, that this steel is used in construction. But I think that it's also about the livelihoods of people who consider that they've got incredibly good jobs. These are good jobs, and this is a source of pride for a lot of people. So this isn't just about numbers, and it isn't just about, strategic interest. It's also about people. And I think that that's what we're going to be hearing a lot about today, is this whole community now on edge.